Hey, shalom, shalom. Your brother brothers Allah from GMS London camp. First and foremost, when they give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, blessings to the hopeful and sincere elect. The conscription is on its way. Matter of fact, it's a mass conscription being prepared right now by the Pentagon, by your guy, the last Don, DJ Trump. Has just ordered the Pentagon to prepare for mass conscription as ground troops mobilized for Iran invasion, which that means basically there's going to be a lot of death that's going to take place. The mortality rate is going to rise dramatically in these last days over there in the Middle East, man. And the main bulk of the war is going to take place over there in the Levant, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, which is the place of the Most High's judgment, which is, that land barren and waste over there in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, around about that region. That's where the main bulk of the war is going to take place, and they're going to need multitudes and multitudes of troops. Now the Carmelians are raging right now, which represents the Iranian so-called Indians, which are the tribe of Elam, the people of Elam, and they're going crazy. They're going, ape shit right now. Excuse my French on Americans and the Pigrayleys, especially American nuclear sites and so on and so forth. These major attacks that's happening because of America's shenanigans, as they've been doing, and DJ Trump running his mouth, threatening to basically obliterate and destroy the Iranian peninsula, or the Iranians in general, with his rhetoric and his profanative words of profanity and all that, swearing and so on and so forth, cursing out, so to speak, cussing, if you want to say, F this and F that, we're going to F up the Iranians and so on and so forth, so now, the Iranians, they're not taking this lying down. They don't trust Americans as far as they can throw them, especially because they want revenge for what they did to their Ayatollah. They want, Trump's head on a stake, so to speak. They want him to get taken out. So this is going to be a never-ending war. The only way it's going to end is by way of the ICBM missiles, man, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And now you got other players that's getting involved, like Russia, off the backs of the Ukraine situation. America's, and different other nations as well. NATO counterparts are getting involved. So this war is, forever, boiling. And it's going to get to the point where, there's no return, basically. When basically the nuclear missiles will get pelted off from the four winds of the earth. But in the meantime, in between time, before America gets annihilated by nuclear fire, they're going to have a mass conscription worldwide, man. Especially over there in the Americas, they're going to be sending you 2/3 out there, including the other nations over there to the Middle East, to basically, die. Die a grievous death. You're going to die in the war. And this is all part of prophecy, man. This is what the Lord said was going to happen in these last days. Leading into the Third World War, the war that cometh quickly. This mass conscription is definitely going to take place. So a lot of you 2/3ites out here that are, based in America and so on and so forth, they're going to stick sea hips in you and ship you over there to the Middle East, and you're going to die the death of a damn heathen, man. You're going to die the death of a GI. Galvanized iron, basically, expendable, and it's going to use you to throw you out there in the front lines to be destroyed for the majority of our people, man. 2/3, including you women too, since you women want to claim that you're independent and strong and you don't need them, man. We're going to see how strong you are when this mass conscription takes place, because you women are going over there to the Middle East too. It's not going to be just like how they had them in Ukraine and leaving the women behind. You women are going to have to put on the going to be put in the army barracks. You're going to be put in the army barracks too. And a lot of you ain't going to make it. Well, all of you ain't going to make it, especially if you, get shipped over there to the Middle East, Valley of Jehoshaphat. You ain't coming back to the so-called homeland. You ain't going to see the light of America ever again, because America's going to be destroyed. So this is an article here. It says Trump's administration is quietly preparing for a mass escalation that goes beyond the airstrikes we've seen over the past 2 weeks, as multiple sources confirmed that the president has ordered the Pentagon to draw up plans for a national military draft within 3 weeks. So within 3 weeks, the whole American society could just change, man. and this is all leading up to the end of America's demise anyway. There's going to be mass war, mass destruction going on, pure judgment everywhere, and at the same time, Jacob's trouble is going to happen. Esau's going to initiate the Mark of the Beast system, which is the C-HIP technology worldwide. And then after that, not too long after that, the ICBM missiles are going to be flying. So this is all leading to the destruction of Babylon the Great, aka America. So this is prophecy being fulfilled, and the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, brothers on down, been warning of this for the longest, and now it's coming to pass. They're saying in the next 3 weeks, a whole bunch of Jakes could be shipped over there to the Middle East, man. You young Jakes between the ages of 18 and 24, I think it's even older than that, between 18 and probably in the 30s or whatever now, they're going to be shipped over there, man. They're going to need boots on the ground. So for you niggas that are out here just doing whatever you think, living a life of lasciviousness and, part of alphabetisms and, these Gen Z, basically, the Gen Z crew out there, that generation, they're going to get wiped out, man. They're going to get wiped out in this nuclear war. They're going to be putting the boots on the ground. They're going to be part of the boots on the ground on the front line that's going to get wiped out. Since President Trump ordered the Pentagon to draw up plans for national military draft within 3 weeks as ground troops begin massing for a potential invasion of Iran. And this is going to be, once they cross that line, invasion of Iran, boots on the ground, so to speak, there's no turning back, man. That's basically all out chaos, all out declaration of war. And then other nations are going to get involved too, especially that, Iran, as Russia's a guard onto Iran and, modern day Persians today. The Carmenians, as I said earlier, they're raging. And you got the Arabians as well, Ishmael, the pig Israelis over there, Bibi and them, because they got their Great Israel plans that they're trying to initiate, but it's going to backfire, and they're going to end up being destroyed by nuclear fire too. So all these nations are going to get involved, China, so on and so forth, Koreans, and all the NATO counterparts, so on and so forth. Everyone's going to have to pick a side, and the UK has already just chose this new guy that's in office over here in the PM in the UK has decided to back America in regards to the war effort. So, England's going to get attacked too. Great Britain's going to be on the front lines too, and they're going to be getting wasted away, especially their military and all that, so on and so forth. So this draft is no joke, man. And within 3 weeks, the whole life as we know it could change, man, dramatically. The mortality rate could be off the charts, because there's a lot of troops over there that's died already that the ESO's not even reporting on in regards to American military and all that. A lot of troops that's been sent over there that's not made it back to the to the bases, or so on and so forth. And it's only going to get worse, man, from here on out. So this is what the Lord warned us about, man: mass death and destruction. This is the time of Jacob's trouble. It's going to come at the same time, simultaneously. There's going to be civil war breaking out, race wars, and ultimately this world war. And the Mark of the Beast system is definitely going to be implemented in the midst of this, because them soldiers that get shipped over there to the Middle East, they're going to stick a C-HIP in you, for tracking and tracing, basically. You're going to have to accept that C-HIP technology if you want to, be part of the military or be conscripted, so to speak. You're gonna have to take it anyway, because if you want to go over there, if they ship you over there, they're gonna slap it in your wrist or in your forehead to track and trace you and know your whereabouts. So, yeah, life as you know it is totally effed in America. American dream is definitely turned into a nightmare, and you can definitely thank this guy, the last Don, DJ Trump, for his efforts in destroying the American society, because he's done a hell of a job in his last administration, man. And he's definitely the last Trump, Abba Ratazar, before our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai returns, man. Sooner rather than later. But definitely our salvation is nearer than when we believe. So this is why we have to, stay steadfast in his truth, stay girded up, keep praying and keep watching, man, because this shit is popping off, man. There's no way that these prophecies can be avoided. We can just say it's our fairy tale, whatever. Because everything that's happening right now on the earth is curtailed around prophecy, man. Literally everything that's happening on the earth is biblical prophecy taking place live in action as we speak, man. So I'm just going to get a couple precepts and close out, and it's too long. But there's definitely going to be a lot of death. The mortality rate is definitely going to be off the charts in the next coming weeks and months. regarding this military conscription. It says Isaiah 3 and 25. It says, "Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty men in the war." That little small precept there says a lot. The mighty men, the men shall fall by the sword. And the modern day sword is the gun. And Esau, his blessing is of the sword. He's made to take peace from the earth, and he was given the great sword. It says in Revelation 6 and 4. And that those weapons of warfare are going to be used in these last days to, delete a lot of people on the face of the earth. Even according to Esau's Georgia Guidestones, he wants to eliminate 8-point-something billion people off the face of the earth and leave 500,000 or 500 million people on the face of the earth, in regards to their Georgia Guidestone. So that's a lot of people they want to delete. That's a lot of culling they want to do. They call it the culling. They want to cull the herd, so to speak. The goyim, as they refer to the people as. It says, "The men shall fall by the sword. The modern sword is the gun, and the mighty man in the war." And the mighty men in the war, and a lot of these guys that are going to be getting shipped over there, they're not even mighty like that. Especially these young jakes, man. They don't know nothing about no warfare. They don't know about asymmetric war, guerrilla warfare, any of them tactics, man. All they know is about being niggas in the hood, smoking weed, and drinking 40s, and boasting and bragging about the switches that they got on their little weapons and all that. They don't know nothing about no war. They don't know what it's been. They don't even know what it's like to be in a war zone. America's never tasted of being in a live war zone for the predominant of their existence, like the Middle East. They know nothing but war over there in the Middle East. It's just part of their lifestyle. Every other day they're hearing bombs go off, people getting destroyed, getting killed, shellings and so on and so forth, people getting murdered in broad daylight, drone attacks, so on and so forth. That's the lifestyle that they lead over there in the Middle East, especially the Levant area. Anywhere where them pig rallies are at, there's nothing but confliction and war going on. So America hasn't tasted of that. That's why it's called the virgin daughter. So these American citizens, man, that's going to get conscripted, they don't know, they don't have no idea what they're going to be getting themselves in for, man. That's why they're not going to make it back, because they're literally going to be sent out there as galvanized iron GIs, in what's the term, expendable, like that movie Expendable with Stallone in them, and just be used out there on the front lines to just basically die a grievous death. And ultimately it's the judgment of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for the 2/3 that didn't want to repent and turn back to the Lord. This is your part of your judgment, man. Especially you loudmouth women, especially the black women. You're going to be out there, screaming your heads off, in these last days, like it tells you in the same chapter here. Verse 26, "And thy gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground." Yeah, the Lord's going to humble you women in these last days, especially you black women, man. Because it weren't just enough that he took your scalp away from you, your hair away from you, your good set hair, your well set hair, and gave you a baldness and a stomacher. Because you're all over the place in regards to your diet and so on and so forth. You all are suffering from mad diseases like obesity and so on and so forth, IBS and all these different diseases, inflammation of the body, and he gave you a smelly box to add with that, instead of a sweet smell should be stink. But on top of that, you need to be humble because of your proud attitude, man. You're still pumping, you're still proud. So the Lord's definitely going to humble you women in these last days, man, especially you black Evites out here. Because you're not needed to repopulate the kingdom. We don't need the nigger woman to repopulate the kingdom of heaven. We got all kinds of women out there, different women of the tribes and of the other nations, which we can use to repopulate the whole nation if we wanted to. Just like Jacob and his 4 wives, basically they weren't Israelites, but in the reincarnation they could have come back as Israelites, but no, except for Bilhah and Zilpah, because they was heathens. But Leah and Rachel, they wasn't Israelites when Jacob, had them, slept with them. He was the only Israelite because his name is Israel. So they could have been likened unto basically being, so-called heathens, but even though they came from his family line, from his uncle Laban, Leah and Rachel, so they are of his stock, so to speak. But Abraham, he had 6 sons by Keturah. His firstborn son was a straight up heathen, Ishmael. And you know, many men, great men of the scriptures, King David, King Solomon, they've all had lineages that's been linked to, you know, so-called the other nations, the heathens, Naomi, so on and so forth. So it's not a thing for the Lord to raise up the tribes back using the other nations' women. Like, we don't need the nigger woman, especially specifically, to bring back all the 12 tribes, or the 2/3, so to speak, because the man is the one that carries the seed. The woman's just the incubator, the nourisher, so to speak. So anyway, I want to stick on this topic. I don't want to drift off too far. But Jeremiah 18 and 21, because it's all in, you know, encompassing of what's going to happen. You know, people are going to be getting judged. The women are going to be humbled in these last days. That's when Isaiah 4 and 1 is going to come into play, because a lot of men are going to be dying in the war. Their husbands are going to be getting drafted, the sons, and then, you know, they're going to be left out here, you know, like damsels in distress. A lot of these women are going to be, you know, bereaved of their children. As I'm going to read it here, it says Jeremiah 8 and 21, therefore deliver up their children, their sons basically, to the famine, and pour out the blood by the force of the sword. So the force of the sword is what? The modern day gun. So they're going to have to die in the homeland, which is over here in the Americas of the West, through these different wars and turmoils that's going to be breaking out, the Civil War, sedition and all that, you know, race riots, so on and so forth, class riots. Ultimately, you know, the time of the hour of temptation, a lot of Jakes are going to be getting their heads chopped off. You know, Esau's just going to be culling the nations, man. He's going to be culling down the herd, so to speak, as we said earlier, by force of the sword, martial law and all of that, you know, Insurrection Act. It says, and let their wives be bereaved of their children, and their widows, and be widows. Yeah, so the women are going to lose their husbands. It says, and let their men be put to death. Let the young men be slain by the sword in battle. So the young men are going to get conscripted over there to the Middle East. They're going to die in that war, man. They're not going to make it over there. You know, you young men and you women too. You ain't going to make it over there, man. You young GIs, you're going to end up being, you know, deleted, put back into the soil, man. That's what's going to happen when you go over there. The Lord said you're going to be slain in the sword in the battle. Slain by the sword in the battle, man. That's what's going to happen to you, man. And that's a purpose, a judgment for me, how about Hashem Yahushai, upon the 2/3 of our people, man, that came against the prophets, like the prophet Jeremiah, you know. So there's a lot of death that's going to be lingering right now on its way. It says, let a cry be heard from their houses when they shall bring a troop suddenly upon them. Time of Jacob's trouble, that our martial law. That's when the Lord. That's when the Lord's going to let Esau basically gather his troops and come marching in Jake's neighborhoods, and you know, and basically take you out, be an occupation basically, and take you out and craft and, you know, catch you and put you into concentration camps and slay you by the sword in the middle of the damn street, broad daylight. You know, it's gonna get bloody out here. It's gonna get gory. It's gonna be the worst. It's gonna be the worst horror movie known to man. You know, live in action, man. It's for they have digged the pit to take me, and have hid snares for my feet. Yeah, so we curse out the 2/3. We don't, you know, we don't pray for the 2/3. We don't, you know, we're not going to lift up no prayers and lament for the 2/3 when all this judgment comes, because that's what the Lord said not to do. So when they get jacked up and they get caught up in martial law, the Insurrection Act or whatever it is, time of martial law, and they're getting out there, you know, getting slain in the middle of the street, men, women, and children, you know, we're not going to lift up a cry for 2/3, man. It's because it's the judgment of the Lord. You know, and they're going to be wailing like banshees in the street, man. They're going to be crying, the women, especially the women, they're going to be wailing and crying like banshees in the street, man. Losing their children and their husbands and so on and so forth. And they ain't got no one to blame but themselves, man. Because they made that fasting bargain with the devil, you know. Going back to the garden with Eve and the serpent. So, you know, time is short, man. This is why the time of repentance is slow. The doors of mercy is slowly but surely shutting right now. And the doors of judgment is going to get kicked wide open very soon. And like I told you in James 2 and 13, time of judgment, there's no mercy going to be shown, man. So this is why you're supposed to get in this truth while they're getting is good, and stop being rebellious, man. But you can see more and more 2/3 of our people, like on the comment boards and the TikTok videos, more and more Jakes are just becoming more and more wicked and rebellious against this truth, trying to curse out brothers in this truth, the Hebrew Israelite movement, so to speak, as they call it, and especially the nigger woman, you know, and these agents out here too. So they're going to be destroyed, man. You know, we're going to get the last laugh. The men of the Lord, through Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, are going to get the last laugh, man. That's why it says we're going to mock when their fear cometh, man. You know, and the calamities that are going to come upon them, and there's going to be major calamities, man. Jake's going to get Ezekiel 21:9, verse 9 to 12, as I always used to read. You know, the slaying of the Lord, you know, there's going to be a mass slaughtering of the children of Israel, man. All the princes of Israel, you know, there's going to be a mass slaughtering, man. And Esau, he's a slayer, and his blessing is of the sword, and the Lord's going to use him on the left-hand side to punish 2/3 of our people, man. So that's why they're going to be getting conscripted, part of this mass conscription that's getting ready to take place, which can happen in the next 3 weeks. So life, as you know, could just change dramatically, man, within a blink of an eye. You know, that's why you got to stay. You got to stay on point, man. You got to stay girded up. You got to stay in the spirit, because life, as you know, it was just change unexpectedly, man. Just like 9/11. When 9/11 happened, life on you know, in the West, in America, and the world basically just changed overnight. So now you got this whole conscription thing that's going to happen in the next 3 weeks, they're saying. So you know, American society is just going to fall apart worse than ever before in history, man. You know, it's already through, but it's going to really be through once they do this conscription, and then people start going missing and all of that. You know, so this is beautiful, man. Judgment of the Lord. You know, this is why it's supposed to fear Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. This is Joel 3. I'll just read verse 14. It says, multitudes and multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Yeah, multitudes and multitudes of what? Of armies. Heathen nations and 2/3 of Jake in the valley of decision, Yahweh Shaphat. Because the Lord said he's going to plead with the all flesh. You know, he's going to judge the heathen round about. You know, and 2/3 are going to be part of the heathen that's going to be getting judged. You know, because they're not going to be delivered. Only Jake's that's going to be delivered. That's not going to be, you know, sent over there to Middle East as the elect. They're going to be over there in the West. They're going to be in America, while the other 2/3 are going to be shipped over there to the Middle East to die on the front lines and all of that. The elect are going to be getting beamed up in ships over there from the land of the north, man. That's where the majority of the elect are going to be beamed up. And then the Israelite foreigners and brothers as part of the elect around the four winds of the earth. You know, where that great exodus is coming over there, the land of the north. It's not going to be in the land of the middle. It's not going to be from the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's not where the great exodus is going to come. That's where the great judgment is going to take place, the war of Armageddon, the mountain of troops. And like it tells you in Isaiah 13, the Lord mastereth the host of the battle, man. So he's the one that's preparing these armies and their foot soldiers and so on and so forth to go over there in the Levant area, the Arabian Peninsula, so on and so forth, starting with the Iranians, to cause this you know, this war, this great war amongst the heathens, that's going to end up all of them being destroyed, and ultimately America being annihilated off the face of the earth by way of ICBM missiles, man, as well as the pig Israelis as well. You know, so this is, you know, as I keep saying, this is beautiful, man. This is the word of the Lord in lifetime popping off the page, man. So if you still think that the Bible's a fairy tale, you're misconstrued, and you got a rude awakening coming for you, man. Because you're gonna find out that the Bible, everything that the Lord said in the scriptures is faithful and true, man. And he's not a man that he shall lie. You know. Last precept I'm going to read and close out a few verses here. 2 Ezra 16 and 17 says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? What days? These days that we're in right now. It's only going to get worse, man. You see the inflation, so it's going to get terrible. It's going to get worse than that. These inflated prices and all that, it's going to get 10 times worse, man. Because now they're saying that, you know, the people are going to start feeling the after backdraft of what's the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Now people are going to start feeling it, feeling what's the term, Slovakia, but feeling the judgments basically that's coming, the cause and effect, basically the repercussions of them closing the Strait of Hormuz. Now the Americans, the West, and European, the beast system basically are going to start feeling the impact of that situation over the Strait of Hormuz being closed. You know, the repercussions of the Iranians closing the straits. You know, it's going to cause America to be in straits, and Europeans too. It says the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine. Yep, great famine is coming, and great death. So that means the mortality rate is going to be off the charts. Millions upon millions of people are going to start dropping dead worldwide, especially over there in the Middle East. That's why the first job of the wicked elite, when they get caught and put into captivity, into slavery by the elect, when the Lord Yahweh Shai returns, the first job of the wicked elite as slaves, they're going to be burying all them dead bodies over there in Levant. So that's millions and millions of ditches that they got to dig. So there's a lot of dead bodies that they got to bury, man. That's going to be piling up as the dung hills, as it says, the scriptures say. You know, there's going to be no one to bury their slain. So there's going to be a heavy stench and a lot of death lingering over there in the Middle East, as there is currently at the moment. It's only going to get worse. So it's the beginning of wars. Yeah, World War III is the wars to end all wars, basically. The last war of the world is going to be World War III, and ultimately our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai coming back by way of the chariots to destroy the kings of the earth and put them into subjection underneath his foot, underneath his people, man, which is the children of Israel, man, starting with the elect. It says, and the powers shall stand in fear. Yeah. It says, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine, plague, and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Yeah. So this is all judgment of the Lord. But so for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So even though the Lord's going to have this mass conscription and people are going to be getting basically forcibly shipped over there to the Middle East, they're not going to understand why it's happening, man. They're not going to understand ultimately it's the judgment of the Lord upon the wicked 2/3 of our people that the Lord's going to cast away. You know, it's going to be destroyed on this side. They're not going to be delivered. So verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So famine is definitely going to be worldwide, but mainly over there in America. As you see, the storehouses are definitely going to be empty. You know, the farmlands are not harvesting like they used to. You know, there's a lot of wildfires and so on and so forth going on. So the harvest ain't coming as plenteous as it used to be right now. So these are all it's a domino effect of events, shitstorm of events that's going to lead to great famine, you know, and ultimately people dying of the sword, which is by way of the gun, you know, sedition amongst men, so on and so forth, man. You know, love of many waxing cold, because wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, you know. Yeah, and verse 23, it says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. Yeah, ultimately that's going to be in the time of World War III. You know, after the smoke is cleared, so to speak, there's going to be a lot of dead bodies, you know, before and after the fact. But there's going to be nothing left in America. America's just going to become a desert. It's going to be burning for a long ass time, and then after a while, it's just going to become a big ass desert, a radiated desert, man, of destruction. But over there in the Middle East, there's going to be bodies piling up like the dung hills for real. You know, that's going to be the first job of employment, slavery for the wicked elite that haven't worked a day in their life, man. They're going to be burying dead bodies, man. You know, digging them pits in the earth. You know, it says, there shall no man be left to till the earth and to sow it. Pure destruction everywhere. That's what's going to be happening, man. It's going to happen all of a sudden. It's going to happen within the next 3 weeks, they're saying. All of a sudden, it's just bare calamities and chaos and collapse everywhere, man. You know, a domino effect, shitstorm of events that no one's going to be able to have the answers to except for the men of the Lord. That's why it says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Fear of the Lord is his treasure. This is why you're supposed to fear Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, because he's the one ultimately bringing these judgments upon the earth, man, upon the wicked and the 2/3 of our people. It says, the grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. It says, so the one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. Yeah, it's going to be like I Am Legend, Will Smith, man. You'll be talking to a damn mannequin or your pet dog or whoever's around or whoever's left. If you can even find anyone in the major cities. because cities are going to become ghost towns, you know, like the whole C19er, when everyone was forcing prisoners to stay in their houses for 2-3 years, and no one was allowed out into the major cities and so on and so forth. You know, it's going to be like that. It's going to be ghost towns everywhere, man. You know, but people are actually going to be getting deleted in masses, in mass numbers. It says, for a city shall there be 10 left, and 2 of a field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks, man. So it's something like the children of men. People are going to be hiding out, man. Try not to get seen by authorities, you know, by martial law troops and so on and so forth. Because it's going to get lawless out here, man, you know. And Esau's just going to have that bloodthirsty, license to kill type spirit. That's why they're going to be like madman, sparing none, especially in the time of the hour of temptation, man, you know. We jump down. Verse 31 says, even so in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search the houses with the sword. So we jump down. Yep. Verse 33 says, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, man. Why? Because their husbands are going to be getting shipped out. They're going to be getting killed off, deleted, either in the homeland or shipped over there to the Middle East, man, to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, the place of the Most High's judgment. It says, the woman shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers, man. Yeah. So a lot of these women are going to be left defenseless. The women that are going to be lost, because, you know, the ratio to women to men is far greater, man. It's like 7-1, literally, you know, even though the number 7 means completion. But like, there's going to be a lot of women that's going to get drafted, and there's going to be a lot of women left over there in America too in the last days. That's why it says 7 women, which is a complete number of women, shall take hold of 1 man. There's going to be a lot of women out there just left out there, damsels in distress, man, literally. And they're going to be seeking for the man of the Lord. That's why the scriptures say a man should be made more precious than fine gold, and a golden wedge of Ophir, man, not the woman. The man is the prize, not the woman. Especially an Israelite man that has this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And women are going to draw near to that man like a magnet, you know. And a lot of women are going to get turned away, you know. A lot of women are going to be rejected, especially the nigger woman, Eve. And a lot of women are going to be accepted, man. It just depends, you know. Depends, man, on who that man is and who he prefers through the spirit, man, you know. But a lot of these black women ain't gonna make it, man. Especially these big Shirley, black heifer, you know, wig wearing ass, you know, weave wearing ass demons out here, man. You know, with the tattooed eyebrows and, you know, over eccentric makeup and, you know, just demons, man. Demons with wigs on, basically, man. They ain't gonna be getting delivered out here. They're going to be left out there for the wolves to tear, man. You know, because no one wants to deal with that masculine type energy from a woman. So virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. Women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars, yeah, this last war, shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Yep. It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. So the Lord's telling the elect, you got to understand what's going on right now. You know, the Lord warned us of these times. These are the signs of the time, so to speak. That's why the Lord said, measure the time diligently in itself. So we got to be prepared mentally, spiritually for what's going on, because it's going to be a shock to the system for everyone, man. You know, a lot of people are going to be just going missing all of a sudden, man. You're not going to be able to get in contact with people. And that's why it's good to live a solitary life, like apostles and elders, a great millstone will say. It's good to be on your own, and so on and so forth. Just be used to have the brotherhood, of course, but just be used to dealing with by yourself. Because there's going to come a time, like in the book of Eli, you're going to be by yourself, man. You're going to have no one to talk to if you're not amongst the Akim when all hell breaks loose. You're going to have to just be able to deal solitary, man, like a soldier, man, you know, and just, you know, soldier through, you know, endeavor. And the Lord will be with you, if you're part of the Lord's elect. That's the times they're coming into, man, where you're going to be in confined spaces, and it's going to be like an I Am Legend type situation. You're going to be on your own. You're going to have only you and your wits, basically, in the faith of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. to deal with what's going on around you, man. And the Lord, as I said, is going to guide you if you're part of the Lord's elect. He's not going to leave you out there, you know, to be destroyed. He's going to guide you wherever you need to be guided, so you can escape the, you know, set peril, so to speak. But yeah, it's coming to that time, man, where you're gonna, you know, you have to soldier up, basically, man. You know, so stay girded, man. You have to stay girded, stay prayerful, and keep the faith, man. You know, don't lose the faith, no matter what happens, you know, or what comes your way. Don't lose faith. So it's in the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and the husbands shall perish of famine, man. So there's gonna be a lot of dead soldiers out there, over there in the Middle East, that's gonna be getting conscripted. This is what Esau's setting up, man. So this is beautiful, man. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna close out. Give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Ruach HaKodesh, Shalom to the hopeful and sincere elect.